Welcome to How to Acquire Customers. My name's Dante and James. We're taking you through this particular webinar that's all about how to attract customers to you, especially in those early days of your business, and how to look at the possibility that that customers can be hard to find, but they're also all over the place and they're not always that hard to find. Just sometimes it feels like they're very hard to find for you. I'm going to share my screen now and get us underway as we begin how to acquire customers. First up, this is a little quote that I read on a motivational card or calendar. I think it was a calendar some time ago. Getting a customer is like going on a date. The pushier you are, the less likely that anyone will want to see you again. That's going to be a theme that comes up a few times today, is that as you're trying to acquire customers, it gets very tempting to get very desperate and very pushy. And that's the last thing you want to do. No one is going to buy something because you bully them into it or badger them into it. So it's very worth remembering. This is brought to you by Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program, which is a program of the Australian Government. Thank you to them for the support. You can watch this again on either the Business Station or my own YouTube channel. About an hour or two's time, I'll be able to have that on my channel. Business Station usually a little bit after that. I also break mine up as well into different chunks. So over the next week, you'll see little chunks of this one coming together as I've edited them and added a few more bits of information along the way too. What we're going to look at is a few of the rules of the game. It's very important to understand those, especially if you think back to that dating analogy, because that's exactly what it's like. Sometimes we're actually going out on a date to try and attract someone to us so that we may be able to, well, whatever it is we want to achieve. In this case, we want to achieve a sale and a new customer. We're going to look at building an audience, then the email list as one of those building an audience channels. We're looking at social media as an audience building channel, and paid acquisition as a way of attracting more people to you as well. Bit of background on myself. My own business is Clickstarter, DanteStJames.com, and Cellular One, as well as Startup Territory and the Darwin Small Business Network. I don't get a lot of sleep, as you can probably tell with all those businesses. Thankfully, got other people working in them, so it's not all just about me. Studied at the University of New South Wales, Sydney, and completed my Bachelor and Masters of Information Systems back in 2016. Also been at University of Western Sydney, TAFE, New South Wales, the Chartered Institute of Marketing in the UK, and as you can see from all the badges all over this page, I'm a bit of a person who's trying to offset my imposter syndrome by getting as many qualifications as I possibly can. So don't be worried if you think that you're going into business without all these qualifications. Trust me, you don't need them. I do them because I'm an educator, not just a business owner as well. So what are the rules of customer acquisition? It sounds like if you're a Star Trek fan, you'd know the Ferengi rules of acquisition. Well, this is a very similar thing, except not quite so harsh. And it's the analogy of dating is a little less brutal than what it would be in that case. Customer acquisition is a lot like going on a date. The internet is the bar, your website is the house, your email list is your bedroom, and customer acquisition is, well, you know the rest of the story. That's from Ghost Influence founder Brian Switcho. He basically, it's very guy's way of looking at things, looking at dating as a way of getting to an end goal. Whereas I think that some of us may not necessarily look at it that. Some of us may look at it as a way to get to know people, to meet people, to get out and about, to enjoy life, to deeply understand people a bit more than just passing them in the street. But for some people, and especially in the sales chain, I guess when it comes to business, you've got to make the money, and getting someone from that first date through to home base, I guess, is as good an analogy as any, really. What you do go into the dating game with and the customer acquisition game with is a bucket load of humility, a bucket load of authenticity, and a bucket load of patience. This thing requires you to be a little bit humble, to a little bit vulnerable as well, a little bit authentic. So when you're being authentic, you're often being quite vulnerable as well. It means sharing bits of you, sharing stories of you, sharing your story. People are attracted to story. But those things don't necessarily get someone to sign on the dotted line straight away. This is relationship marketing, and this is where people require you to take some time with them to understand what it is they want so that you can deliver more adequately what it is they need. And that, young Padawan, it takes patience. And with patience, we don't all have that, particularly in the entrepreneurial mindset where everything is rush, 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 fast, 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 grow, 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 make a first million in 3 months. It's It's not an area of life that's set up for us to be patient, but patience is what it takes. I'm on to year 6 of my business. I think it's year 7, sorry, of my business now. Times are passing very quickly. And only now have I hit the $1 million mark, where I'm not a millionaire by any stretch of the imagination. I'm still, years and years off that. But the business itself has crossed the $1 million mark, which means, a lot of that goes out in wages and contractors and expenses and rent and bills, and a little bit pays me as well. I'm not really getting much out of it. But the reality is that it took me 7 years to get there. It didn't happen in 3 months. You're not going to get rich in 3 months. And we tend to focus on those entrepreneurs who were the overnight successes, who went from 0 to hero in 90 days. And now they're selling courses, and they're selling ideas and methods that apparently are going to get you there as well. And if they worked, there'd be more millionaires in the world than what there are people who are poor. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes the stars align, sometimes they don't. What you can do when you give yourself a format or a reasonable expectation of how this process goes, then you give yourself a reasonable expectation of when the success will come to you. And you won't be sitting there going, why is everybody getting rich under 30 and I'm 45 and still not rich? That's not how it works, sadly. So rule number 1, when it comes to dating and when it comes to the customer acquisition game, is to take it slow. And you have to take it slow for one simple reason. That's because they're not ready yet. No one's ready. You're probably not ready yet. You are not ready to take on the amount of sales that could come if you just went hard and pushed everyone and they said yes. That amount of sales coming in all at once, you can't handle. If you're holding a solo service business or a e-commerce business, even logistics of getting all your products out there and shipped and to people's houses. Don't know if you noticed, but Coles and Woolies shelves are pretty empty right now. Exactly, that's going to happen to you too, particularly if you grow too fast, too soon. And then the other point being that if you're a person doing a service and you're the one who is providing that service as a sole trader, then you can't handle every client saying yes at the same time. Every single person you put it out to, if you put it out to 100 people and suddenly everyone says yes, you've got a scheduling problem. You need to suddenly find room for 100 people in your calendar. So just like on dating, we tend to take it slow with, a trip to the cinema or a coffee date. Coffee dates are pretty comfortable, and cinema dates are pretty good too. Cinema dates are really good because they don't give you a chance to talk, and coffee dates are great because they do give you a chance to talk. So that's why they're often the first ones. They're more shy of us who just wants to sort of see what the behaviors are of someone. They'll go to the cinema to see how people behave, lining up, how the people behave, going in, how they talk during movies or not talk during movies, and how they discuss the movie after. Often a cinema date will end up with a coffee date afterwards anyway. A coffee date is designed 100% just to get to know someone. It's almost like the 20 questions game, but it's looking for those non-verbal communication cues as well. How does this relate to business? Well, and sales specifically, when you're doing the take it slow way, you're also then offering something that's low stakes, low commitment, and allows people to back out gracefully. And that's when you're offering something like, the downloading of an ebook, or the watch this video, or, I'll send you this book for $7 shipping, that kind of thing, where you're just stepping out and saying, here is my low ball thing I'm going to give you. It's a thing that doesn't cost me a lot to distribute, may not cost me anything to distribute. It could be even just signing up to your weekly tips and tricks of how to be a better organic farmer on email. That may be what you're sending out. It's nothing that's going to cost them a lot because it's free mostly. It's nothing that's going to cost you a lot because it's something you've already produced. It's a get to know you date. It allows them to get to know you. And this is what we call in the story brand technique, which is something I do quite a lot of and will be bringing back again for another run next month, is that it's called a transitional call to action. Now, the ultimate thing you want to get someone to do is buy your stuff, right? Or book your services. But on the way to that, Those call to actions could be, you know, buy now, book now, download now, all the things that you ultimately want them to do. But on the way there, there's what we call transitional calls to action. And you see these manifested on websites as downloading of ebooks, signing up for this, watch this exclusive webinar, sign up for my webinar and get it, funnily enough, in 15 minutes time. There's one starting. Those automated webinars are a great tool for getting customers going as well. I'm going to be doing some of that this year myself for one of my products. So that whole getting to know you, take it slow, is the first rule of the sales, acquisition, and dating process, whichever way you want to look at it. Hey, you could be coming onto this call today looking for dating advice. You've come to the right place. If you're looking for sales and growth advice, hey, you're also here in the right place. Number 2, respect boundaries. This is a big, big one, and it takes a lot of self-awareness on your part and a lot of empathy on your part to be able to understand what people's boundaries are. Now, in the dating world, this could be saying, well, I am ready to go straight to home base, but the other person may not be ready to go straight to home base. They may just be like, I'm still kind of getting to know you, Buster, just back the heck off. It could be in the world of business, though, and in the world of sales and getting customers, that empathy allows you to have a far better understanding of where your customer may be at. Understanding your customer, and I've got a little bit of research stuff coming up that's going to help you with that, is all about understanding what they're going to tolerate from you in the sales process. So just be like you're walking down the street and suddenly those damn Wilderness Society koalas start jumping out, rattling their buckets at you, trying to basically molesting you to get you to put some money in their buckets. That's not a great sales technique. And in fact, it's been banned in a lot of places because it was such huge harassment that people were like, get out of my face. What is this? I shouldn't have to be harassed every time I walk down the street. Or if you live in regional Australia, you might get a similar thing where you walk down the street and you're being harassed for money, you're being harassed for different items by people in the street. And that could be anywhere in the world. Heck, I've been to Bali. I've seen that go on. You're not in the position where you're ready for someone to just jump out in front of you and ask for money when you're in that. So think about when your customer is going to be bombarded with your messages, whether they're on social media, ads, Google ads, TV ads, radio ads, all that sort of thing. They're probably not in that position to receive that. Now, the big guns like Harvey Norman and Bunnings and all that, they have a lot of ads that are trying to sell you something right here, right now, this week, this weekend, this Saturday. There's another sale on Harvey Norman. Funny that. And they're always trying to do it. And the reason why they're able to do it is because they're able to spend the money to do it. If you're not someone who's got, $5 million a week to sink into advertising to a national audience, then you're not going to be able to get away with those kind of crazy full-on sales techniques. There's something which is only there for people who've got enough money to force it through to you by buying up all the available ad space they possibly can for their budget and then just hoping that it hits the right person in the right place. You don't quite have that luxury, I'm assuming, if you're on this webinar. I certainly don't have that luxury, and I spend a fair bit of advertising every month. I'm spending probably about $2,000 on Facebook every month, probably about $3,500 on Google every month. I'm spending money on lots of different platforms that help me to better analyze what's coming in. So I've got a big budget when it comes to a tiny business, and my business is not it's making a bit of money, but it's not tiny, it's not huge. But what it is, I've got a budget for that, and it took me 7 years to get there. And I can tell you now, in year 1, I was not spending that much when it came to it. And I had to then go through this process exactly as what I'm showing you now today. The whole thing of taking it slow and respecting the boundaries and meeting people where they're at. And this is what we call a sales funnel. So, and there's plenty of other people who can, I can do it as well, is teach you the sales funnel through the digital solutions processes through Business Station. The sales funnel is basically where people are not aware of you, and therefore you need to make them aware of you. Then there's this second stage, which is the consideration stage. They're now looking for what it is you do, or they need what it is you do, but now they're shopping around for all the different options, including with you. And then thirdly, at what we call the bottom of the funnel is where people are converting. They're ready to make that decision, and they're just about to make it, and hopefully they're about to make it with you. But if they're not, there's things you can do advertising wise that jump into that. So understanding that sales funnel, which is really just another word for the journey of the customer from where they are to where you are, then you need to understand the different frame of mind they are in, the different way they're more receptive at different stages of that journey than what they are at other stages of the journey. At the very, very beginning stage of the journey, which is the awareness stage, when they don't know who you are, they're not really ready to buy, but they're ready to maybe listen. In the consideration stage, they're getting ready to buy. They do also need that thing. So the messages they're receiving now are much more likely to be, hey, this is the benefits and the features that are available on this particular product or service. And they're much more willing to listen to those things. But at the conversion stage, where they're just about to make that decision on who they're going to go with, then hearing things like price point and the differentiation reasons, why it's so important for them to choose you, those messages make so much sense at that stage of the journey. And I've got a few advertising places I'm going to show you a little down the track that'll tell you a little bit more about where those stages are most appropriately carried out on things like social media and elsewhere online. Another rule at rule number 3 is just be yourself. In the dating world, it's very tempting to go out and pretend to be someone else, to pretend to be bigger, more smart, more successful, more rich, more, I don't know, sometimes you'll put on heels and think you're taller than what you really are, or you'll wear clothes that make you look thinner. You'll do everything you can to make people think that you're better than what you are because you think you're basically not that great and you have to put on an act. Worst thing you could do in dating and in sales as well. When you're pretending that Mr. Slick McSales, when you're sitting there, hey, come on over here, little lady, and let me show you this car. This car's got everything you're gonna need. It's got this, and this, and lists it up. And at the end of the day, she just turns around and goes, who are you? I don't want the car. I came in here to basically ask a question about getting service on the car I already have. And that's because Mr. Slick McSales didn't listen to a word she said, because he went into Mr. Slick McSales mode instead of being about himself, which is about getting to know someone and understanding and just basically shutting up and letting someone else talk while he gathers the information he needs to be able to go and do the thing that she needs, which it turns out wasn't a new car, but it was a service for her existing car. Now, just like in the sales kind of environment, the same thing happens. You're going to be thinking that maybe you need to be more slick than what you are. You need to have better copywriting skills that are much more fancy. You're going to have to sound like you understand the jargon and the words of your industry to be more effective with it. But when it comes down to it, it's actually far more powerful if you be yourself. Now, you're a human. The person on the other end of the phone or across the desk from you, or that you've just shaken hands with a networking function, is also a human. So what they don't really appreciate is having someone who comes up sounding like an amateur radio announcer who's like, hey, my name is, I got a great deal for you. No one's going to respond to that. No one wants to know about that because that's fake. That's not real life. And when someone's just broadcasting at you, they're not listening to you. If someone's not listening to you, you're so much less likely to want to buy something from them in the end. So when you just be yourself, your quirky self, your fun self, tell a story about yourself, be self-effacing. It's one of the reasons why, one of my great values that I say that I need to turn up at all the times is to be humble and to be authentic and to be effective. And that authentic and vulnerable and humble and all those things are really important to me because they help me to make a connection with other people. I share my mistakes because I really don't want them to have to make those same mistakes as well. That common ground we land on helps us to build a better relationship. Will I get a sale that day? Probably not. But 6 months down the track, when they do need that thing, they come to me because they remember that I knew about that stuff. And they don't remember that because, I told them about that stuff. They remember it because I actually listened to them and found a common ground with them. So being yourself, I don't think you need to go into, putting on the tie and slicking back the hair and putting on, 7 inches of makeup. That sort of stuff is not going to get the sale. The kind of person who's going to buy from you for that is fickle and will just buy anything from anyone who dresses up the part. But if you're really wanting to make that connection and getting people across the line, be yourself. Your quirky, wonderful, gorgeous self is exactly all you need to be because that's what people were drawn to you for in the first place. And with that's a repeat of just be yourself, but that's then moving on to preparation. So we understand what the rules of the dating game are. Now we need to know how we prepare ourselves for this move into attracting new customers and acquiring new people who are going to order and buy our products and services. Preparation is a lot like understanding the difference between a business advisor and someone who's trying to recruit you to some network marketing, MLM, online affiliate scheme. There's vast differences. A business advisor has a process for you to go through who says, from this to this in 5 years, this is where you can expect to be if you follow these steps. These are the steps you should follow, and you've got a far greater chance of succeeding than what you do if you just go off and do your own thing. They say there's a 5-year plan, not a 30-day plan. Network marketers, online affiliate schemes, MLMs, they've all got a 30-day quick start because they need that money to be rolling around in their system really quickly from you, because they don't have a lot of liquid money to be able to play around with which to support the training and development of someone, unless that's training and development, that person being trained is already bringing the money in. So big difference is there's no preparation for those kind of schemes. But in a real business, there is time for preparation, and there should be time for preparation before you start that. You may have been agonizing for the last 2 years over whether to start a business, and you've decided in this new year that 2022 is the time that you want to start that new business. Congratulations. Now begins the preparation, not the starting of the business, not the buying of the inventory and the renting of a shop front and all that. What you're doing right now is starting the planning, the preparation. This is not a network marketing or multi-level marketing scheme where you need to achieve a certain status before day 30 in order to somehow get some sort of bonus. The reality is this is going to take a while. It's going to take some time. And that means taking some time to research your customer before trying to recruit your customer. This is important. Just like dating, you'd want to find out a little bit about the other person before you actually go to coffee with them, or you'd want to have, somehow learn something about them through the grapevine or through observation or something before you go on a date with them. So just likewise, you need to do a bit of research on who your customer is so you know how to approach them. And that research will be through looking for others that do what you do. So for instance, if you are wanting to do meal prep services for people who are looking for dairy-free and gluten-free meals, and you find that there's not really a lot of options out there for meal prep for people to do that, and you'd like to be able to do that for people in your local area. So the first thing you should do is look for others that are already doing something similar. Maybe not doing your particular niche of gluten-free and dairy-free or nut-free, but others that are doing meal prep. Look at the big ones like U-Foods, dude. Big ones like Muscle Meals and HelloFresh and all those kind of guys, to see what it is they do. And then look for the local people, the smaller people who are doing that as well. When I was doing a bit of research behind working with a client who has a vegan plant-based meal prep service on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, the first thing we had to do was say, well, who else in your region is doing what you do? And we found that really no one was dedicated to this, but there was a lot of cafes that were kind of doing this as a side gig. So we knew that there was some competition that was coming from those cafes, but not a lot of people were very dedicated to doing this, and certainly nobody had the kind of meals that she had. So that gave us an idea of, okay, if these guys are doing well at this, how they're cafes, what are the meals that seem to be bought a lot? And what are the issues that we find in the reviews and the good feedback too? What are the reviews that people are leaving them on Facebook and Google, so we can see what the potential issues are, look inside who the customers could tend to be, and also see what are the good things they do. What are the things that their customers and clients seem to really rave about? And through that, we learn the kind of customer that you're looking for. So if you see all the customers that are complaining about something and they say, oh, there's not enough plant-based options, or there's no gluten-free options, or there's no dairy-free options, then you know, oh, great. Okay, there's a customer out there who does like that. So you can actually look at that customer, maybe even go to their profile, see what things they are that they like. If they've got their privacy settings set quite loose, you can see all that kind of stuff. Customer research doesn't have to be sitting with a clipboard in a shopping center asking people for their feedback on something. It can be as simple as going on social media and looking at your competitors, looking at their customers, and look at what those customers like, dislike, what they comment on, what they seem to look at their posts, see what things they are responding massively to and the things they're not responding so well to. And you'll then see this pattern of, that's what my customers want. So not only do they want gluten-free, but they also want all allergy free if we can possibly, so it'd be dairy free, no mushrooms. How can we make food that matches all that and does what we're looking for that customer? And also lets you know if there's a quite a big demand for that kind of thing, or whether it's just, one or two people who seem to be quite loud about what they're looking for, but are not enough for you to build a business on. So that's how you start the process of researching who your customer is. Another bit of preparation you need to do is less about research and more about you, more about what you need to look at, because you will walk into this business idea thinking it's a great idea. And sometimes you can't be told that it's probably not the greatest idea in the world. You may think that it's a better idea than what it actually is. Confidence is a major part of what you do as an entrepreneur, and with sales and acquiring your first customers, confidence is important. But there is a point where there's a little too much confidence and another point where there's not enough confidence. Now, I talked about imposter syndrome in a webinar just yesterday, and that was all about the fact that not enough confidence and thinking that you're a fraud and a failure because you may not have succeeded yet, or for reasons you might be successful and you just have this nagging voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough. That's in the not enough area. But the too much is where your ego starts to blow out. And the reasons why we often, as new business owners and entrepreneurs, tend to get a little egotistical is because we see these overnight successes. We see these Bitcoin bros and we see these NFT hoes and we see these people who are just, everyone seems to be making tons of money except us. And so we see, well, I should be able to make that. I'll see how they're strutting around with their Lamborghinis and their private jets, which are mostly leased and fake anyway. And we look at all that and go, how come I haven't got that yet? How do I get that? And if that's what I need to do, I need to strut just like that. I need to put on the show just like that. Okay, great. I'm going to look like I'm the biggest confident person because people are going to be attracted to that, because people got attracted to him or to her because she's flashing all that. She's doing all the flexing. So why can't I do that as well? Realistically, there's a middle ground. And that middle ground is somewhere between the too much, like all things in life, and not enough confidence. So understanding that you need to step forward confidently, but not be a complete douche is probably, where you need to find that happy medium. So I mention this as a preparation for acquiring customers because this is highly important in how a customer perceives you. If you walk forward, you turn up to your first meeting with them in a Lamborghini, there's already a barrier between you and them. Some people might look at that and go, "Oh, that's aspirational. I want to be just like you." But most people are going to look at that and go, "Oh God, here we go. This is going to be one of those meetings. Ugh." And it's just going to come up against this tosser. Honestly, the flashiness and the flexiness doesn't really work. There's some male entrepreneurs who this has worked for, but they tend to be guys who sell courses and coaching. So you have to sell a lot of courses and coaching to be able to buy a Lamborghini. And I don't know if that's realistically where you want to go. Me personally, I just want a car that works and gets me from A to B. I have no desire to be in fancy cars. But I'll tell you what, I do have a desire to fly business class occasionally because I just do like a little bit of business class. I'm sure we all do. Part of that ego too is learning how to handle feedback, and not all of us have the thick skin that it takes to handle a bit of feedback and some critique. And in the early days of trying to work out who our customers are so we can acquire them, then we might have to ask a lot of questions about the product we've got to potential customers as we meet them. It could be friends, it could be relatives, it could be people in networking, it could be other people, competitors even. I talk to my competitors all the time because they're fun to listen to and hear, and their success to me is my success. If they're doing well, that means there's room for me to do well as well. So you might talk to those people, you might talk to people who are potential clients who are referred to you, and sometimes the feedback you're going to get is going to be glowing. They say, "Where have you been all my life? This idea is fantastic." Or it could be the opposite. It was like, "Oh, really not what I'm looking for. I don't really have a need for that." And having the intestinal fortitude, the guts in you to be able to take that feedback will help you go a lot further. It'll help you to understand that sometimes your product is not for everybody, and that you'll learn very quickly how to treat that feedback. Feedback is good, feedback is bad, but all feedback is needed. Regardless, whether it's positive or negative, it's always required because you need to know what it is about your product that may be rubbing people the wrong way or maybe impacting people the right way, and what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, where are the opportunities, and where are the threats. That's what we call a SWOT analysis. So to find those new customers, you need to be razor sharp on what the good things about your particular product or service happen to be. If you're doing some kind of advisory services or a consulting kind of thing or personal consulting, then you're going to find that it's really, really important for you to know the strengths and weaknesses of your technique, of your method, of your format, so that you can adequately talk to that when people do give you the feedback and go, I've heard really bad things about that. And you can go, yeah, there's some people just haven't really had a great run with it. But, you know, there's a whole lot more people who happen to have had a great run with it. So, you know, we tend to focus more on the people who have had great results more than the very small amount of people who haven't. So handling feedback is going to be needed. Even though you may not like getting the good and bad feedback, you also need to get a lot of it, because you can't just rely on a committee of one or a committee of three. You've got to rely on a committee of many people, many pieces of feedback that tell you more about your product, because there's your product and your service as you know it, and then there's your product and your service as people who have used it know it, and they're often complete opposites to each other, not the same thing at all. So you need lots of pieces of feedback to make that feedback reliable, so you can use it to improve the product or service and better communicate it to your potential customers coming along. But you need to be ready to receive it. And that takes a little bit of a thick skin. It means that sometimes someone's going to look at your baby and say your baby's ugly. That's just going to be something that's going to happen. And when I say that, I mean that metaphorically, as your business is ugly, your idea is not great, your service is really stupid. There's going to be some people who have to say that because of their own reasons, or because they honestly think that your product is really crap. You need to be able to receive that. Not be defensive, not sit back. Remember, everything is delivered as it is. You add the meaning to it. So if someone says your product is crap, that's actually that's them. That's not you. That's not saying that you are crap. That's just saying your product is crap. Okay, so what exactly is it that you think is crap about it? And then you can go through that process, and you find that maybe the product wasn't crap at all, but they didn't know how to use it because it wasn't adequately explained to them to show them how they're meant to use that product. We've found a hole in the product from the feedback. Now we know how to better communicate it to future customers on how to use that product correctly, so they won't feel like the product is crap. But it all comes back to thick skin, being able to take the feedback, keep the rage down, and keep your eyes and mind open and your ears so you can receive that feedback and go, okay, good point. Thanks for letting me know. Thank you is the best response you can ever give to someone who gives you negative feedback. Thank you. It's a lot. It disarms you, it calms you down, and you go, thank you. I just need to go and just process that for a second, but I really appreciate you giving me that feedback. You can go away, scream, beat a pillow, whatever you need to do to cope with that. But the important thing is you accept it with thanks, and then move on and try and do what you need to do to accept it and then take it on. And once you've beaten up the pillow, don't ignore that feedback. Actually think about it enough to understand there could be something valid in there. Don't obsess about it though. So at that point now, we want to find our very first customers. Finally, we're prepared, we've researched, we know who they're going to be. Now we want to find them. So there's 4 phases we're going to go through with customer acquisition. The first being building an audience. The second being using newsletters. The third is using social media. And the fourth is using what we call paid acquisition, or paid ads, basically. Now, why do we go through this process instead of more traditional methods like, putting leaflets out there, which actually is not a bad idea if you've got a local business. Leaflets in letterboxes is actually quite a good idea to reach people and make them aware of you. We're going through probably the digital tools allow this, the accelerated digital access of tools that allow you to reach people where they're at and deliver messages often and regularly and consistently to those platforms as well. So let's start off. There is no magic formula to building an audience, but there is a formula. So I'm going to share that with you. The formula is by building an audience by being 2 things: consistent and patient. You've got to keep doing this day after day. You've got to be systematic about it. Now, I've got a system that I work off. I've just put it into place since sort of late December. And so far, so good. It's doing really well. It's increased my LinkedIn following by well over 1,000 people. It's increasing my Facebook reach by a lot, and it's giving me a lot more things to talk about in conversations. And I've already had more referrals in this last 10 days than what I had in 3 months. So that particular consistency I'm going through, I won't go into what exactly I'm doing, because you'll get scared. Honestly, it's a very, very full-on program I've given myself to do, but it's something which I do. I wake up at 7 o'clock. By 7:30, I'm doing all this. I'm beginning to do this stuff. And by 9 o'clock, I've completed that. And that's my marketing for the day. And then I do continual marketing throughout the day as I get the breaks between my regular work to do that. So being consistent doesn't have to be every day. It can be every week after week, month after month, whatever it is you're comfortable with doing. But you do need to be consistent with whatever it is you're going to do. What you're going to do, we're going to look at in a sec. Being patient is understanding that whilst I got those in the last 10 days, I had a lot of leads come through that I didn't had more than in the last 3 months. That's an outlier, but it's also based upon the fact that this is not the first time I've had a major marketing push. I've been advertising online for years, 6-7 years now. I've been investing money in Google ads, SEO, websites, people to do social media for me, rejigging my social media, learning how to make videos in 30 seconds. All that kind of thing has been a massive investment. So I've already got momentum. That's why it's worked so well this time, is because so much background work was done all behind it. But if I was starting from scratch, like I'm assuming you might be, it's going to take a while. So I didn't really start to build any sort of audience of any significance until year 3 of my business, until I actually knew who it is I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, settled in on my brand, settled in on what I was offering, settled in what my expertise was, and settled in on how I was going to make money. So I had to really get those things first. And when I did decide to do it, then I had to be patient, because it won't happen immediately. Of course, it can for some people. We see the overnight successes and we hear their stories and we get inspired by how wonderful they are, that, look, if they could do it, I could do it as well. And that's usually what they say when they're trying to sell you a course or a program. For 99% of the rest of us, it doesn't happen. It does not happen. So much of getting rich quick and getting an audience quick is all up to being in the right place at the right time, which you have some control over. You can put yourself in lots of right places at right times if you've got the time for it. Or it could be that you are just simply not reaching the audience you want to do, and you need to do more experiments in order to reach them, or that your audience is going to grow slowly. And that's the key. You're not going to get 20,000 people who have any meaningful impact in your business come to your social media profile and just, inundate you with their interest. It's not going to happen like that. Even if you pay for it, it's going to take you time to build those relationships. And that comes out of being consistent. Keep doing it. Keep doing it all the time. Keep, presenting that stuff, narrowing down on what your expertise is, and producing stuff that's going to reach those people. And in those areas we're talking about, start with, your friends who will listen. It's actually sitting down with friends who will actually listen to what you have to say. It's not necessarily going to your friends and saying, hey, become my customer. It's saying to your friends, hey, look, I've been trying to build this business, right? Can I have a chat to you about it? Because I need to get a bit of feedback from you. And they're like, oh yeah, sure. I'm happy to give you that. And what this is not necessarily getting your friends to become your customers, because your friends probably aren't in the demographic or the need area that would need what you do. What it is doing is letting them know that that's what you do. If they are clear on what you do, it means they're also clear in explaining to other people what you do. So that in their conversation with another friend, another colleague, another associate in this circle of many, that happens to say, hey, you know what, I've been looking for someone to talk to about, getting ready before my next relationship. Oh, well, I know a relationship coach, actually. I just was chatting to him the other day and he's talking to me all about this stuff. And actually, do you want me to put you in touch with him? That is a powerful referral through networking. And that's exactly what your friends are for. By trying to just get your friends to sign up as your customers, you're missing the whole point that it's not your limited circle of friends that is going to be the power for you. It's the circles of friends that they know. For every, one friend you have, they have a circle of influence of around 150 to 300 other people around them. Doesn't mean going to their Facebook and messaging and sending out a post to all 700 people who happen to follow them. It's more about the conversations they're going to have in the next year. We can connect people who need what you do with you, who provides what they need you to do. So start with friends who will listen and make sure they're abundantly clear. And this comes with, I guess, being abundantly clear about what it is you do. the elevator pitch, if you haven't look up one of those, it's a bit of this is who I am, this is what I do, this is who it's for. It's a very easy to remember pitch that allows someone to easily grasp what it is you do and who it's for, and then be able to repeat that to other people as they meet them in their days. So for instance, I know that there's a guy who makes amazing custom design kitchens that are built with very high quality parts on the Gold Coast, because 5 years ago, I was in a BNI chapter and I met this guy, and that's how he explained it. And I remember that. I remember that his name's Danny, and I know exactly how to refer someone through to him if that's the case. The same way that I know that when I met a relationship coach, her name is Rachel, and I know exactly how she does it. She does a short course with you face to face over Zoom and all that, that allows you to explore some of the issues that may come up in your relationship before you even go into the relationship. How do I know this? Because I had a conversation with her about this at a networking function in which she very clearly and succinctly explained that to me, so that I can now refer that through to other people. And then what you do, once you have that message clear and you've started with your friends who listen, it's worth repeating to those friends. They might say, oh, how are things going? Oh, that business I started, actually, it's a little bit slow, but I got my first couple of clients, which is awesome. It's just, and just remember, mate, if you've got anyone pass it on. Remember, it's for this. I do it for like this, and this is who it's for. So someone like that, pass it on, man, to be doing me a solid. That's the kind of stuff you need to do. Is, again, you need to remind your friends. You can't just tell them once and hope that they're going to repeat it for life. You tell them and you repeat it for them, because likely most of your friends are not business owners. They are going to be employees. They don't understand the business world. They think we're weird and stupid for doing it because we don't get leave entitlements. We don't get superannuation. We don't get all those wonderful benefits that employees get. We're often doing crazy stuff and playing in our sandboxes. So we need to often repeat to them, remind them that we are different. We provide a service, and if they know someone who needs that service, please refer them through. This is the first line of where your new customers are going to come from. In my case, my first customers came from a BNI chapter. I didn't know anybody, didn't have any customers. I went in there, paid the money, did the thing, did the process, and did really well out of it. Now, not because the people in my BNI chapter, which is a networking organization with chapters all around Australia, except in Darwin where I am, we don't have any. It allows you to explain what it is you do and who it's for to the people in that room. There's usually 30 to 50, and then they will then refer you to other people. And what they will do is, by you getting your pitch correct and explaining what it is correct, they are able to repeat that to other people. So this worked for me, not with friends, because I didn't have a lot of friends on the Gold Coast at the time, specifically none that ever had any sort of indication. I was a business to business enterprise. And so I had no people in business that were friends. So I had to go and meet people by force. And that was through this networking. So it does actually work. And that's where my first clients did come from. And there's 3 clients I got to this day who are still clients of mine right now today, after all those years. The audience building formula continues on focusing, getting people to share your message. So this could be, helping to share your message on social media, or sharing in conversation, like I was just talking about with the BNI chapter. And then you really learning the value of patience. You sow the seeds and you wait for them to sprout. You give a bit of watering along the way by reminding people that you do this, and or keeping going to things like BNI and business networking chapters and all that sort of thing, where you're going back regularly, having conversations with people who can connect you with customers, and letting them know what it is you do. Eventually they get to the point where, like with a young man who won an award at the NT Digital Awards about a month ago, that he won the award. He was really happy with that award, and it really struck me, what he was able to do and what a great idea he came up with. So when I saw him in his temporary job that he was doing banqueting in a hotel, I was able to go, "Hey, your name's Trevor, right?" And he said, "Yeah. Do I know you?" And I said, "Well, actually, I saw you win your award at the NT Digital Awards. Congratulations, mate. That idea you had about cybersecurity and early detection of DDoS attacks was absolutely brilliant. I can see why you won the prize, mate. You've got a big future ahead of you." And he was blown away. So we're now friends on Facebook and connected on LinkedIn. And now he just yesterday referred a client through to me. So those kind of connections that really make it, but it won't happen overnight. It will happen. That took a month to turn around from me sowing the seed with someone to actually getting them to refer me a client. So in some cases, this could be a 6 month to a year's turnaround. You have to realize that not everything is going to come to you straight away. Some of it is going to take a while. So starting with friends means having the conversations with them, that you do what you do, and this is who you do it for. And if they know anyone like that, it'd be great if they could refer that through. The second step is repetition, making sure that you have your message really, really tight. So my message for me is, I take hesitant and confused business owners and turn them into capable, confident marketers. That's my throwaway line that I use all the time. And what it says to someone is that, okay, this is who I am. I'm Dante St. James. What do? I take hesitant, confident business owners and turn them into capable, confident marketers. Okay, well, who's it for? It's for business owners who are a little bit hesitant. Yeah, I know a couple of people are like that. Oh, yeah. And what they want to be able to do, they need more people to know about them. Well, that's what I do. I'm turning them into capable, confident marketers. They're like, okay. Hey, I should hook you guys up. And then next thing you know, you've got that. So the repetition of a message, of something, you're not going to sound like when you go to a networking function and someone asks for your pitch or they ask what you do, if you are clearly able to articulate what it is you do, even if it's like you reading from a script, no one's going to think you're a tosser. Now, what they're going to think is you really know what you're doing. You really know, and you're confident about what you're doing. This is good. This is someone who I need. I feel confident referring someone through to you. Step 3, share and share alike, which means giving people the opportunity to share your materials. So this is also you sharing your expertise. And I'm going to show you in a second some of the areas where sharing that expertise happens best. And understanding, of course, it's going to take time. You're going to need the patience. All good things like fine wine take time. The key takeaways from this is, in order for your early marketing to ever work, you have to commit to sticking to it for 6 to 12 months. I wish it was shorter than that, but in your initial, once you can run, supplemental campaigns further down the track of trying to get extra customers, and they will work way better because you've already got commitment and you've already got momentum. But 6 to 12 months before you see really meaningful results, which means that sometimes you may have to side gig your business for 6 to 12 months until you're ready to jump over and you're making enough money. Now, of course, there are exceptions that work quicker than this. It will depend upon many, many factors, such as if you were the person who got in really early to attack this particular thing, how hard you work at this. The more you do it, the more regular you become, the more you refine that message and get it right, the more people you get in front of to be able to share your what you do and who you are, then that will increase. That will be much, much sooner. But if you quit sooner than that 6 to 12 months, you're guaranteeing you're going to fail, because you have no momentum. And every time you go to start again, you're starting from scratch. So you're not ever building upon the snowball that's already rolling down the mountain. You're just saying, stop the snowball while it's small. I can't handle this because I'm getting no results. And then trying to start a new snowball rolling down the hill, hoping that somehow this next time it'll be different. You kind of have to be all in or all out. That doesn't mean quitting your job and going for this and hoping that you've got 6 to 12 months of salary saved for you to pay all your bills. What it means is, though, you may have to side gig things. What it means is you may have to save money aside to run this thing. Whatever it means is just understanding that you're not going to make your $1 million in 30 days like the gurus are trying to tell you, or even 90 days for that matter. It's going to take a while. Like I said, it took me 6 to 7 years to get there to finally actually make an actual million. And the next million will be a lot easier to make because I've already made the first one. So now we're going to choose your tools. We're going to choose the tools out of your tool belt. They're going to get you there. And the first thing is looking at the channels that you get for achieving customer growth. And that's email, social media, and paid marketing. What do I mean by this? Email is where you want to keep your early efforts on the down low. So you're still sort of working everything out. It's a great tool for that. It's great for creating a very focused group of early customers. And it's even better for more narrative stories. So if you want to share a bit more about the background and why you do this and why it's important to you, what you believe in, your values, all those things, then it's really good for that. It's also good for product updates. I get this from my Kickstarters I put into all the time. I bought this new Lumina camera and I saw it come up on a Facebook ad, and I kind of clicked on it and went, oh, it's expensive. I'll leave that for now. And then over the next 6 months, they basically kept reminding me of this camera, and I went, I could use a really good camera. It's finally, after nearly a year of development and payments and lots of stories and updates coming through email, has been delivered. I'm just not home to collect it at the moment. So the minute I get home on Monday and go straight to the post post office, picking that sucker up because I cannot wait to get this product, because they've continued to get in contact with me through email to let me know how it's going, how good it is, what the software updates are allowed to pull, how I'll now be able to pull 4K video out of a webcam, and how I'll be able to, get better audio through that as well, which is something important to me because here I am on a webcam doing audio through a webinar. It's what I do for a living. Email is also free. It's not something you don't have to pay for, because sending emails is free. It can be free if you're sending it from MailChimp, or even more importantly, from somewhere else. You might not have many email addresses. This is where the weakness of email comes up. If you only know 50 people, you only got 50 email addresses, ain't going to go too far, is it? But if you've got thousands of email addresses, it can be better. And there's a way that you can fast forward that and reach much more people. I'll show you how that is in a sec. Social media is good for quickly reaching a big network of people, particularly if you boost posts or you go into large groups or large pages that have big followings that you can post into as well. It's great for asking questions, creating dialogue, getting feedback, letting people know. I'm seeing a great one, which is the NICE program through My Pathway in Cairns. I'm in a group there because I used to be a mentor for that service, and I'm watching someone who's saying, hey, I'm doing some market research on this. Can I get some people to help? And 30 people all lined up and said, yep, let's do it. Let's help. It's largely free on social media, but the weaknesses are that you may have a very small social network to begin with. So you have to do a lot more work in groups and pages and all that sort of thing to let yourself be known enough to be able to get some meaningful results out of it. And the other thing is too, it's not very private. Often you just have to operate as yourself rather than as your business. In fact, it's better if you operate yourself. People will trust a person over a business every time. So what it means is that sometimes you need to let the world know a little bit about who you are. They're going to see your name, they're going to see your face. And if you're a very private person, then trying to build an audience through social media probably isn't the game for you. And if you're not willing to show your face, people are not willing to trust you. So it's a bit of a fine line you have to walk. You either have to walk a fine line of sharing only so much of yourself, and you just go, I'll stuff it like I do and put it all out there for the world to see. They can see that I'm staying at my parents' place at the moment because I'm down visiting them for the holidays. And they got a lot of cats because that's all over public social media that I can put on there. And I think that's a lot of fun, and it helps add to my authenticity and helps give another person a reason to be able to reach out to me and say, hey, saw that video about the cats, that was hilarious. It's an icebreaker. So up to you, whether you're a private person or a not private person. You will get more out of it if you're not particularly that concerned about overly private things. It'll be slower if you're someone who wants to remain quite private. Paid traffic is the fastest way to guarantee people knowing what you're doing. You can access new customers that are outside your circle of influence. So you don't have to know them. You just have to pay to reach a certain demographic of people. The ability to scale is very fast. So you can scale up from 50 people to 50,000 people very quickly with your message and guarantee you can see them because you're paying to put that message in front of you. But it does cost money, and there's no guarantee your targeted traffic will be actually successful. There's a bigger chance of you reaching your customer. It doesn't mean you're always going to reach them. Many reasons. They may not be there. They may not be ready to hear from you. You're not going to reach them in just one message. You need to keep repeating that message for 6 months so you can reach them. Lots of techniques in there. We're not going to go into those today because that's a whole lesson all on its own. And there's plenty of other people in this particular program doing that. So let's look at newsletters through email. What you want to do is first up, choose what you want to be known for, and then you form your content of your newsletters and your emails around that. You prompt people to join your list for that, and then you consistently send out tips and info, almost like clockwork, every Monday, every Tuesday, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever the time it is that you choose to send it out then all the time to make sure people see that regular message and learn to trust you and understand who you are and what you're doing and who it's for and how it might be for them. Not today, but maybe in 3, 4, 5 months time when they're ready to buy for. So building that email list, absolutely vital. And I would use, if it was you, HubSpot to do it. HubSpot is free to start up with. It syncs up with your Gmail, your Outlook. So it means that every person that you have contacted with through Gmail or Outlook in the past becomes a contact in HubSpot. And then everyone who you talk to in the future also can become a contact in HubSpot because it's synced up. And what you can do with those contacts is build an email and you can send that email out to them. and it can send it all in once, and you've immediately got a big block of people. Now, I can tell you've probably emailed a hell of a lot more people than what you've called on the phone. So use those contacts. After all, they've got an existing relationship with you, so it's Spam Act compliant, Spam Act of 2003 compliant. And secondly, it's not illegal because they can always unsubscribe. HubSpot in their emails always puts the unsubscribe button at the end, so they can actually opt out of your communications altogether. No muss, no fuss. Everyone's happy and it's legal. So I really encourage you to have a look at HubSpot, and I'll be doing a HubSpot webinar in early February, just to sort of show you how to do that if you're interested in that. Otherwise, I've got tons of instructional videos on how to do that with you. Number 2, social media. Business to consumer or business directly to customer. People who are going to be likely to respond to that kind of contact in paid or non-paid stuff, they're on Facebook and Instagram, basically. Or if they're young, they're on TikTok. If you're trying to reach business to business clients, they're on LinkedIn, very much on LinkedIn and on Twitter. LinkedIn's becoming absolutely massive now, and it's where I spend most of my time, most of my effort, because my customers, despite me being a contractor as a trainer for Facebook, I actually spend more time in LinkedIn because that's where my clients are more likely to be rather than on Facebook. Because I'm not selling to consumers, I'm selling to business owners. Then paid traffic is all about finding out where it's going to reach the most. So understanding that sales funnel and how it works, from the top of funnel being low intention, which you'll find people who are on TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, they're not really looking for what it is you're doing, but you happen to have introduced them to it. So they're just getting introduced to the product or service for the first time. Then moving down the funnel, you've got the moderate intention middle of the funnel, where people don't really have a high intent to buy from you, but they're starting to get interested in. In fact, they might be starting to shop around. So dropping in things to them while they're in that sort of frame of mind fits with Google and with Instagram, and to a degree, Facebook as well. But those really high intention bottom of the funnel customers are the people who are red hot for buying, and they're searching for it directly on Google right now. Obviously, paying for traffic on Google is the place to go and the place to get the better results for that. These are all things that do require some strategy and require some one-to-one time, probably with someone who knows what they're doing. I don't expect you to walk out today and know how to completely build a 3-stage funnel using all those programs and spending the money that goes with it. It does take more than that. But the acquiring of customers is also basically starting with your friends, getting your message completely refined, going out and looking at your email list and building that, looking at building an audience on social media and building that over time. And then to supplement that, paying for access to people through there. And that's how you build your customers. So you want to dig more into your business mindset or your business planning or your business sales pipeline with a guide. You can do that through this program, the Business Station Digital Solutions Program. 3 hours of one-to-one advisory for $44. That's 3 one-hour sessions for $44. Not bad if I do say so myself. And as many workshops and webinars as you like. Register at businessstation.com.au. But if you want to catch up with me or ask me some questions, please feel free to reach out through my LinkedIn. It's probably the place I am the most. Facebook, Instagram, I answer all those messages as well. Or send me a direct email through Dante at businessstation.com.au. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your business today to spend some time learning more about how you can improve your business. I know it's a big commitment to take an hour out of your day, and I do value the time you spend with me. So if you want to keep following this all, YouTube, look for me, YouTube, look for Business Station to get more advice through there, or otherwise just hang around and I'll see you in the next video. I've got one on Friday this week about the metaverse. I'm very excited to show you a bit more about that. Thank you and have a great day.